Thanks for making the Locked On Ole Miss podcast your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcast, including YouTube. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Also, check out Sirius XM, channel 191 for Ole Miss's home team broadcast, Saturday at 2:30 Central Time. You can hear David Kellum and the gang call every play of Ole Miss action against the Alabama Crimson Tide over in Tuscaloosa. I am here with Jason Simmons, the CEO of Dead Soxy. And, the last time we had this thing, I was trying to explain what a sock subscription was and how your NIL program worked and all of that. And I had the questions and I realized I don't think I understand this as well as I thought I did. But the way I understand it is every pair of socks that you sell and through the sock subscription, some money is donated to the Grove Collective. How close am I?
That's very, very close. And I appreciate you bringing that up and starting there. And it's not only through the sock subscription. So any pair that we sell pays a royalty on that pair sold back to the Grove Collective to generate revenue to either pay our current players or to go acquire new talent out on the field. So we have a goal of 1,000 NIL subscribers for this year. We're at 281 right now. So thank you all 281 of you very, very much. We love that you're a part of this and an early adopter. But that's exactly right, Stephen. You pretty much characterized it in a nutshell. So every single pair that we sell, either through the subscription or direct or wholesale or anything, generates revenue that we contribute back to the Grove Collective to get some good athletes and pay our current athletes.
Yeah, and programs like this, whether people know it or not, whenever you look at the team, if you want a tangible look at what NIL is doing with Ole Miss right now, this football team is probably the most talented football team that Ole Miss has had in my lifetime. It's not particularly close. And NIL is the reason that Ole Miss has been able to assemble that group. And the way that you tangibly see what's going on, look at what's happening in the second half when depth takes over. Ole Miss is outscoring opponents 101-27 through 3 games. That doesn't just happen. Ole Miss is one of like 15 teams in the country that's 3-0 against the spread. That doesn't just happen. It all goes back to NIL. And Jason, everything that you do is just kind of making it stronger, making the build a little bit easier and giving us Ole Miss fans just what we want.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And to kind of piggyback on a comment that Kiffin said recently, pretty much our entire roster from a starter standpoint is transfers, with the exception of a couple. But man, they're transferring for NIL. I mean, at the long list of reasons that kids transfer, NIL and compensation is right at the top of that. There's no coincidence that, Ole Miss was ranked in the top 10 most aggressive collectives, and now we have the most deep team we've ever had. And honestly, the best starters I think we've ever had as well. If you want to look at the impacts that, the Grove Collective and kind of all of the efforts over the last 2 years have had, look no further than our roster. I mean, it's right in front of you. Now, at the end of the day, that's got to translate into wins, and a big one's coming up, this weekend. Super excited about this, but, the evidence is there, and let's hope that the boys can put it together this weekend and hopefully next weekend after that too, and get a couple W's.
Yeah, we're going to talk about next weekend at the end of this call, because that's definitely a roundup weekend for Oxford, Mississippi. I hope the Grove Collective is doing that. But if you want to talk about the Alabama game, we can. This is probably the one time that I can remember since probably Chad Kelly, maybe Bo Wallace, where Ole Miss absolutely has the better quarterback play.
Yeah, I cannot disagree with that. I think I heard you say on your show that maybe the time before that was Eli, and I probably would agree with that as well. But, not only just quarterback play. Look, Dart's playing out of his mind. I have always liked Dart a lot. I've always liked his game a lot. But, boy, he's just playing really, really, really good ball this year. And, again, it's, against defenses that we don't normally consider strong. So I'm interested to see what happens this next weekend. But, man, if he comes out and plays anything like he has been playing, pulling the ball down, making good decisions, making smart runs, not getting hit too hard. I mean, he's taken a couple of hits that I wish he hadn't have. But, if he keeps – and his accuracy, Stephen, his accuracy has been phenomenal. I mean, on point. The guy's dropping dimes down the field. So, yeah, I would agree with that. And Alabama is down a little bit this year, it looks like. But let's not forget, dude, look at the last 5 recruiting classes and where Alabama's ranked. I mean, there are some absolute studs on that field.
It would surprise no one if Alabama's 4 and 5 stars started playing like 4 and 5 stars. That would surprise no one.
You're exactly right. Mm-hmm. And, Saban has this, there's a reason he's the GOAT, Mm-hmm. I can remember a few years ago when he benched Jalen Hurts in the championship game and started Tua. And, or not started Tua, but Tua put Tua in and late. But in my gut, I don't know what's going on with the quarterback Milroe, and there's probably something there. I heard some chatter that he was suspended or whatever. I don't really know anything about that. I don't know if you do, but in my mind, he's like lighting a fire under that kid. Bench him one game, let him, see what it kind of looks like without him, and seeing how he responds. And if that's the case, I'm a little worried about it because Saban's got a way of getting the best out of his people.
One thing that's kind of interesting, I was looking at his zones from Pro Football Focus. They do all his stats of his completed passes, and you look at his deep throws and his over 20-yard throws. He's really good quarterback.
Yeah,
but his intermediate stuff and his short stuff is not good.
Darts?
No, this is Milroe.
Okay, got you. Okay.
And that tells me in this game that Alabama is going to run the football and they're going to do play action deep shots.
Yeah.
Because that puts the kid in the best area to be successful. Now, Dart, on the flip side, in year one, he had holes, like a couple of deep pass holes, and the middle of the field was a problem. This year, there's nothing that's a problem. The only thing that might be considered a problem is on the side where Zachary Franklin's going to eventually end up, but that revolving door at wide receiver, there's a little bit of a gap there. But I was thinking, and let's see, this morning's show I did a thing. It's like the next 2 weeks of games for Jackson Dart is going to determine if he is a really good quarterback, a great quarterback, or if he's in New York. And all of that is on the table for Jackson Dart.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think he and Lane, look, really the university in general, but especially he and Lane have a lot on the line this weekend. And those two can start to enter like legendary status if we roll off a couple of wins here in a row against these ranked teams in the SEC West. If we beat Alabama this week, which is an incredibly difficult thing to do, boy, that LSU game becomes really, really, honestly, monumental.
It's the biggest LSU game since 2003.
Okay, yeah. Mm-hmm. That sounds right. I was there then. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean that game sets up to be monumental, and it's at home in Oxford. That I don't know. I'm very excited that I'm going to be there for that one. I'll tell you that much.
Should be a lot of fun, and this is really interesting to me because it may mean nothing, but Lane is being extremely playful about this Alabama game on Twitter and all that. And it just makes me think, it's like Lane feels good about this weekend, doesn't he?
Yeah. I kind of get that same feeling. So I was watching Lane on the sideline during the Georgia Tech game, and I could feel his frustration, and obviously you could kind of see it written on his face as well, because, the team really hadn't put it all together quite yet. Like, our defense has played good, but not great. The line has been okay. The defensive line has been okay. The offense kind of sputtered in the first half last week, and, 10 points or whatever at half. They looked okay. We just didn't score. We've got to figure out how to get both sides of the ball clicking early in Tuscaloosa. That's the challenge. I mean, if we go in there and put up 10 points and we come, at halftime and it's 21-10, we're in some trouble, because I don't know that, we can strike back from that, but boy, it's going to be hard to come back from behind in Tuscaloosa. So we got to get out on them quick. And I hadn't seen us start fast this year.
And I don't know how well they would be able to come from behind.
I agree. I agree. So, hey, I got a question for you.
Okay.
I've researched this, and I can't really find anything out there. What is going on with Franklin? I mean, is he injured, or what's the deal?
We honestly, this is my professional opinion. I don't know.
There's no word on the street of like what's going on.
Yeah, but they are so secretive about injuries. I think there's a chance we see Sakari Franklin play this week. I think there's a chance he's on the field. God. If not, I think he'll definitely be on the field for LSU. But I think Lane Kiffin did admit Trey Harris and Caden Prescorn was practicing this morning.
Oh my God, that's huge. I didn't hear that.
He admitted that in the press conference today. He volunteered that information. So that's probably means it's ahead of even where we think it is. At least he wants Alabama to think it is.
There is definitely some gamesmanship between those two.
Yeah, and the whole thing where Lane Kiffin says that he doesn't think the defensive coordinator is calling the defense. It's this other guy, and they asked Saban about it. He's like, the guy's calling the play, you know. And I was like, okay, Lane is playing right now. He is just playing.
Right.
And,
yeah, I love it when he's like this, you know. And if Saturday goes like I hope it goes, like all of the Ole Miss fans hope it goes, then it's going to start to make a lot of sense. I think Lane's probably thinking, look, this team is loaded. And even though we hadn't had two complete halves yet, you know, either the offense has been good and the defense has been mediocre or vice versa. I think he's thinking he's going to be able to get them up for Alabama big time. And we're going to come out and play our best game.
Yeah. And between that one and after that one, that LSU game, that's game day. It will be absolutely monumental if Ole Miss can pull off this win. And you hear all the players saying Alabama is Alabama. And immediately after the game, Jackson Dart was interviewed and was talking about Alabama. And it was like, man, everybody doesn't know how much of a trap that Georgia Tech game was. Yeah. And Ole Miss might have played and they just tried. They won the game. Actually, they covered. But that game could have gotten so squirrely because there's just no emotion that was happening. They were just trying to get through that to this.
Yeah, I totally agree. That Georgia Tech quarterback, I know he's a transfer, but boy, he's good. He can sling it, and he's got some wheels.
He's former player of the year in Texas.
Wow, I didn't realize that. Yeah, look, I was nervous at halftime, you know, only going in by, you know, we weren't playing as well, and the scoreboard kind of reflected it. You know, and Lane mentioned this too, but boy, our defensive line's got to get pressure. I mean, gosh dang, we have got to get pressure.
You know, one thing that was interesting to me is I noticed Jared Ivey playing a lot of three technique in that game. And so you basically essentially had three undersized defensive ends at that. And then Georgia Tech's having success running their stretch plays and running the football. And it's like, well, we're being pretty undersized right now. And I think that was designed to maybe get a pass rush. Yeah. To make Haynes King uncomfortable. But I think it backfired a little bit. And maybe a Stephon Wynn, maybe a Josh Harris and JJ Pegues, once at the end of the game, whenever they got put in, there was a little bit more cushion. But we just have three really good defensive ends. And I think they're trying to figure out how to get him on the field. And one of those defensive ends is going to come off the field as Suntarine Perkins rushes more and gets more playing time. I think a lot of time the ends are going to be at the expense of that.
Yeah. Boy, I like it when Perkins is on the field. You just get the sense that he's got the juice. You know, he moves really fast. He's really, really intelligent the way he gets to the ball, and he'll hit you. You know, in my mind, like, look, I know we got to ramp him up, and he was playing high school ball last year and all that. But look, there is a clear. And look, we've got some good linebackers, but to me, Perkins looks like maybe the best one out there, just with his ability to move and get to the ball quick.
You know, Harold Perkins last year didn't become Harold Perkins until after he was basically sent to spy on Malik Hornsby for Arkansas, and he had 4 sacks in one game. That's when Harold Perkins became Harold Perkins. I would like to see Sunterian Perkins basically spy Jalen Milroe Saturday all day.
Oh my God, I would love that. That would be phenomenal. Yeah, I would lose it on that.
Yeah, I think he has the athleticism, the speed to do it, and I think the offense would look interesting. He basically, if you take away the running ability of Alabama's quarterback Jalen Milroe, I know it's a team of 4 and 5 stars, but that offense doesn't scare you if you take away the ability to run the ball.
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah.
So
they're not scared.
Right. So you're going to the Ole Miss LSU game. When are you heading to Oxford?
We will head to Oxford a couple of days early for that one. So we've got a couple of pop-ups that weekend in Oxford. We're doing a pop-up in Friday afternoon, basically from 12 to 5 in the Graduate Hotel lobby. And I don't know if you've been in there on a Friday before game day, especially an LSU game day, but it is a lot of fun. It's pretty rowdy. And then we have a pop-up at the stadium on Saturday. We're going to do the little like Coca-Cola Fan Fest thing that they do over by the stadium. We're going to be selling a whole bunch of socks there, selling NIL socks there as well. And then I will be making an appearance at the members-only Grove Collective tent in the Grove that weekend as well. I don't know if you saw that they did that this past game for the first time, and it was it's pretty cool.
All right, I talked to Walker about that, and he said that they were going to do stuff like that. I still think a pregame live stream by them for their members only. Yeah, I still think that's the way to go, because you could do like a thing where you're getting members and players from other teams. You could do something for like 30 minutes to an hour. I think that would be a good way to go, but we'll see. Anyway, thank you for making the Locked On Ole Miss podcast your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcast, including YouTube. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Jason, thank you so much for joining us, man. And I'm looking forward to doing it again.
Likewise, my man. Did you want to do the score predictions?
Yes, let's do score predictions. I jumped the gun. What's your score prediction?
All right. I thought a lot about this. I think Ole Miss is going to win 31-24 in Tuscaloosa.
The funny thing is, Pratt Rogers sent me his score predictions, and his was the exact same thing. Really? Yeah. So yeah, a lot of the people that contribute on this channel is going 31-24. I don't know where I'm going to be. I'm real close to just picking the score of the 2014 game. I'm that close.
What was that?
23-17.
Okay.
Yeah, that area is where I'm kind of leaning right now. So it should be pretty good.
I'll take anything. I'll take a win that's by 1 point or by 100 points. I don't care. Yep. Just give me the dub.
Yeah, just get the W. Anyway, talk to you later, buddy.
All right, man. See you. Bye.